their ranks this season, Brew, just middle of the pack, which is what they are. West standings, Lakers are 9th, Warriors are 10th. So who is more likely to win another championship, Steph or LeBron?
This is what you want to talk about? I want to talk about how LeBron and Rui can defend the pick and roll? Okay, I mean, this is what you want to do.
I am.
Listen, smart money would be on neither.
Right.
But I think if you're saying one of them will, it is clearly LeBron because he has the freedom of movement that Steph does not. That Steph is tied to the Warriors. Steph is $55 million next year, $60 million the year after, and I couldn't see, I guess things could change. I couldn't see Steph in 2.5 years being like, you know what, I'm a free agent. I'm going to go somewhere else. I just think he has come too far with this one franchise. And I do not think the Warriors are contenders right now, and I don't see a path to them becoming contenders over the next couple of years. Steph is still one of the absolute best players in the league. But after that, I'm not as high on Kuminga as I think a lot of people are, but even the people high on him think it's more projection. Wiggins and Clay are both basically AWOL. They're just, Steph Curry and then Draymond, what he brings intensity and defense. LeBron can choose his own destination next year.
Yeah.
And it's a vintage LeBron situation, Brew, where if this offseason LeBron signs a contract for the max, he will be criticized for it. And if LeBron this offseason signs a contract for the league minimum, he'll be criticized for it. If he takes all the money, be like, how important is winning? And if he takes a veteran minimum to go somewhere, basically cheating, guys, if we're being honest. Easy, not allowed. Yeah. But I think there are 4 teams in the East that LeBron could sign with this offseason that he feels a need and would make them instant A-list contenders. In Philly, the Knicks, the Heat, and the Cavs. And all of them make sense. Philly maybe the least sense, but they also have the best players.
It makes sense basketball-wise.
Basketball-wise, a ton. And obviously the Cavs and the Heat, there's some real emotion and history there. So neither with their current teams, but LeBron can leave his team and Steph can't. So my answer is LeBron.
I agree with what you said. I'll give Steph a little more of a chance than you. I think LeBron has a better chance. But Steph, in 2 years, they could, if they play their cards right, they could have some money in free agency. And I think Steph, even though LeBron, both of them are still playing great, I feel like Steph is a little closer to his prime still than LeBron. Obviously, LeBron's putting up great numbers and playing well. But Steph, it never was about defense. Yep. It never was about athleticism. He obviously still is one of the greatest shooters in the league. And, he's playing just about as well as always. If the other guys were playing as well as they used to be, they'd probably be contending. So I think in a couple of years, they might be able to get somebody, if they make the right moves. I also think Steph could be an attraction to other players because he would seem to be easy to play with because he's not ball dominant. He's a shooter, things like that. So I'll give him a little bit more of a chance than you. And I doubt, I'm like you, I doubt that he would say in a couple of years, you know what, I want to get a ring. No. Like what he would do is have to go to management and be like, look, we're not winning anymore. You guys probably need to go in a different direction. Send me somewhere where I can compete for a championship. I don't see that happening, but that's what he have to do. The Lakers is the answer. This year, certainly. This year, because LeBron has the second star already. And it's not just a star. It's a superstar in AD. I like the Spencer Dinwiddie move. Now, I'm not saying they're top contenders in the West, but I'm just saying I like that roster. I liked it before they got Dinwiddie, but now you bring in him. He's a smart player. He's a tough player. He can shoot. We saw him get hot in the playoffs with Dallas. So I like that move. I don't think they win it this year, but they certainly are closer than Golden State. And I don't necessarily think LeBron's leaving, but again, the talk is Trae Young or Kyrie. If they could somehow get one of those guys, especially Kyrie, then now you're talking, they're injury prone, the 3 of them, those 3 guys, but that's a nice big 3.
Do you buy that the Lakers have a shot this year?
Punchers.
I would put it like this. I think there are 7 teams with a better chance. So if your list of contenders goes 8 wide,
Yeah.
then yes. But I think there are 7 teams, and I did that quickly, but I think that is what I believe. Denver, Phoenix, Milwaukee, Miami, Philly if Embiid comes back, Boston, obviously, and then who's the team I'm missing out west?
I'd say
Dallas.
The Clippers.
I would have Dallas because I give Dallas the same puncher's chance I give the Lakers, which is you can not only have the best player in any series for a series, but you also might have the best duo in any series for a series. So that, and now Minnesota and Oklahoma City, I think, would be upset with the fact that I did not include them.
We got to see if they're for real. They're young.
The NBA is not the NFL, and we've talked about this a lot. It almost always goes in steps. It almost always goes that a team, OKC hasn't even made the playoffs yet with this core. And Minnesota, I know, did, and they had a tough first-round series with Denver. But usually it is you break through to make the postseason. Right. Then you go on your first good run to a conference finals thereabout, and then you get over the hump. Those teams, I'm not disqualifying them, but those teams, like I do think the Lakers and Clippers, I like the Lakers more than the Clippers because I like their top 2 more than the Clippers, but I like the Clippers' depth and coach more. Yeah, so I understand. They're both similar injury risks, if we're being fair.
Quickly for you, Brew, as we talk about sort of long-range Steph and LeBron, I'm going to ask you a 2-tiered question. One, do you think LeBron, do we have any evidence that LeBron can win or can play as the second best player or third best player, where we already have evidence that Steph can do that? So if we project far down the road, like Steph's like, you know what? I'm going to be Ray Allen. I'll be the third best guy and peel off 1 or 2 rings.
No, I agree with you on that. No, we have no evidence that LeBron can't be the best player. And I think one of the challenges of playing with LeBron is that he's so good and versatile. He can do pretty much everything. So sometimes he does maybe so much that a star player kind of has to step back a little. Certainly that third star. Like I don't think Chris Bosh, they won 2 rings. It was a great run. But I don't think Bosh was his best version of himself on those teams. Now it may have helped him. He might not even be a Hall of Famer if he doesn't go to Miami. So I'm not saying it was bad for him. Yeah. But 16.6 rebounds what he averaged like those last 2 years, I think, in Miami. Kevin Love, I thought was an underrated 3. I mean, he was giving them 17 and 9. So people act like he wasn't doing anything. But again, he wasn't the best version of himself. Remember in Minnesota, he was like a top 10 player in people's eyes. So I think that makes it a little tougher to play with LeBron because he does so much of it that you have to step back.
Can we expand on this just for a moment? Because I've always thought LeBron's gotten an unfair rep in this regard. I think for everyone on LeBron's team, you're in usually the best position of your career, except for the third best guy.
That's a good take.
And because I think the second best guys have thrived. Kyrie had the best stretch of his career. I know D. Wade obviously was unbelievable before LeBron.
Right.
But D. Wade thrived with LeBron, and then LeBron helped him when he was struggling with injuries. AD's had the best stretch of his career. And then role players thrive as well.
Oh, totally.
The problem is the
third best guy.
The third option on LeBron teams always become the open man. And so you don't get special possessions or treatment or deference.
Gotcha.
If you're from me watching it, you're the third best guy.
You become a glorified role player.
Exactly right. And so for role players, it's good. For the second option, it's good. The thing that you were saying about what LeBron could be, I know you've talked about LeBron, we thought at this point in his career, could he be like the older version of Karl Malone? Play traditional power forward, get on the block. If LeBron ever truly slows down and is still playing, I actually think it's going to be a better version of old Jason Kidd. I think it's him going almost purely to the point, running the show but not scoring a lot. The Kidd with the Mavericks, a better version of that. Because I still think he's as good of a passer and floor general as anyone in basketball. And so if that's to me the role he would have to take on.
I think he could be either one of those. Like, I think part of the challenge for LeBron to figure out is to choose something to do. Yeah. Like if you have AD and let's say they got Kyrie or Trae Young and you wanted LeBron to be kind of that third guy, he could definitely be a great point guard, but but in his mind, even though he's not score first, he's going to give you 20-something, and you might want him to just be more of a passer. Or he could play on the block. He could dominate on the block in today's NBA and play inside and be a big-time scorer and focus on that and rebounding. But, again, he wants to handle the ball and do other things. So I think that's something they should look at.
I do feel like if we win a championship, it would be more distinguished and clear. But I understand I'm in that short list for sure. Brew, do you think Tatum can be the best, the face of the league?
Let me say this about face of the league. It is not an easy thing to be. And I don't mean the pressure that comes with being the face of the league. I mean, there are only a handful of guys that have been the face of the league. Mm-hmm. If we go back, we're talking about Dr. J.
Oh, I love this.
Kareem, kind of, sort of.
Not really.
Really, right.
Kareem
But Dr.
was the best
J,
forever, but wasn't the face of the league.
I mean, when he was a face, if you want to say in the 70s,
Maybe.
before Dr. J, that's when the league was kind of down.
Yes.
So you go Dr. J, Magic, Bird, Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, LeBron, Steph.
That's it.
That's probably it. So KD, never the face of the league. Olajuwon, Duncan, never the faces of the league. Even though they're perennial all-stars, easy Hall of Famers, some of the best to even ever do it.
So you're talking about how many, like 8 guys in the history
40
of the
years.
planet?
I mean, now, you have certain guys who are among the faces. Durant, clearly, among the faces of the league. Barkley, Isaiah Thomas, Karl Malone, Moses Malone. Like, they were among the faces, right? The stars you thought of when you thought of NBA.
But the guys.
But the 1 or 2 guys?
The face of the league, here's a synonym for it. If you were to look upon a time in NBA history and attach a player's name to that era.
That's good.
You know what I mean?
That's
The Bird Magic era, the Jordan era, the Shaq Kobe era.
Right.
Even though Duncan won more than Shaq and Kobe, or he won as much as Kobe, more than Shaq. That was, you know what I mean? There and then
you could
the
say
LeBron,
he may have had an era or been one of the, but he wasn't wasn't the face of the league by any stretch.
So go ahead.
So you have to have not only the game, winning to some, all those guys obviously won at a high level, but you have to have the charisma. There's an it factor. I say that about this job, whether it's TV or radio. There's an it factor.
Yeah, bad boy.
You got the it factor, all right, especially as the bad boy. But no, there is something like that. And Jayson Tatum is not on the Duncan level where it's just like he just doesn't really have that personality, or Jokic doesn't want to do it, whatever. Mm-hmm. But he's not on the Steph or LeBron level. He's kind of in between. So I think with Jayson Tatum, for me, for him to become like the face of the league, which I think is probably not likely, they'd have to become a dominant dynasty.
Yeah.
Like they'd have to win like 2 straight, 3 out of 4, where they were clearly the best team. They're winning. He's the best player. His game is it's easy on the eyes. It's fun to watch. So that's what would have to happen though. Outside of that, which I don't think is likely, I don't think face of the league.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Wildes. I'm sorry.
No, I thought it was interesting when you laid it out like that. I was like, oh, is Tatum's game, which is, top 5 in the world, just not unique enough? Where you're like, well, Dr. J,
all of those
kind of like he didn't invent the dunk,
right.
but like sort of the modern high-flying game that was Dr. J. Then it was Magic, who was magic.
Yeah.
Then Air Jordan, who could fly. Mm-hmm. Then it was Shaq and Kobe. Like Shaq is the strongest, and Kobe was Jordan 2.0.
And out of high school success in a way we hadn't seen up to that.
LeBron was the king, and he can do it all.
And Steph's the greatest shooter ever.
Steph's the greatest shooter ever.
I hadn't even thought of it that way, but
then you end up, if you on that rationale,
it's Wemby.
It's Wemby.
By that
the
rationale, it's what Brew predicted.
Which I think is going to happen.
Which is
assuming they win to some degree.
So we're kind of all over the place here. No. I thought that was brilliant. So this is where I come across repeatedly as a Jayson Tatum hater, and I do not mean to at all. But I just think that it's cliche now to say there are levels to this. I don't mean it in that context. But in my eyes, when I look at the NBA, there are levels. There are stars. Paul George is a star. Mm-hmm. Jalen Brunson is a star. Unquestioned star.
And even though they're probably on different levels.
Yes.
Right?
Then there are superstars. Jayson Tatum is a superstar. Jalen Brunson, in my opinion, trying to become a superstar. Then there are perennial MVP candidates. That's the upper crust of superstardom.
Yeah.
Right now, that is Jokic, Embiid. I know Luka hasn't won one yet, but I feel like he's a perennial candidate.
Absolutely.
And Giannis. That's them. Then up in the room above them is face of the league. And as Brew mentioned,
icons.
It's 8 icons.
Yeah.
There you go. And so there is, if you're a superstar, by my math, you're one of the 12 best players alive. Jayson Tatum, not only is a superstar, is firmly entrenched.
Yep.
He is unquestionably, to me, one of the 8 best players alive. But, and this is where the hate, I guess, comes in. But I don't think he'll ever be one of the 3 best. And if you're not one of the 3 best, then you're not going to be the perennial MVP candidate. He's never received a single first-place MVP vote. He turns 26 in a week. And that's not old, but for those guys, you usually have either been banging on the door.
Don't you think he may get an MVP award?
Maybe.
Because I think if they, let's say they were to win it this year.
Yeah.
He goes in next year as a favorite.
Next year, but he's so good that he could be one of those guys after 10, 11 years in the league. It's like,
oh, get him one.
Let's get him one.
Like Dirk.
And he plays well. Yeah, let's get him one. And Dirk was never the face of the league as great as he was.
No. And that's what I'm saying. Guys can win MVP and never be the face of the league. So I think we are. The other reason I think this is happening is I think people, and some people don't want to say it, we've at least openly discussed it on the show, feel deep down, face of the league's got to be American. And right now, when the 4 best players in the league are not American, then all of a sudden guys who really shouldn't be in this discussion are being elevated because they're the best American players.
Now, I used to feel strongly that the face of the league had to be American.
I don't think that's the case. I think game's too international.
Right. And I think Giannis has shown enough personality. Embiid's shown enough personality. Luka's got the swag.
Not taking a shot at Jokic, but Jokic just doesn't want it.
No,
but all those other guys could do it.
Let's just keep it real. Nobody believes Doc.
Oh.
All right. I mean, really. Now, I say that people feel like, the public perception, not everybody feels, public perception is he stabbed Adrian Griffin in the back. But I will say this, what Doc just said does actually make sense. Like, if they come to you and say, our coach who is 30-13, we're about to fire, you would be like, wait, what? Why? Because remember, Doc wasn't talking to the players. I don't believe he was talking to the players as a consultant. He was talking to Adrian Griffin and the owners. So he may not have even known, or at least not known the extent of how the players were kind of soured on Adrian Griffin. Maybe heard it from Adrian at, they're not doing what I want them to do or whatever. So I honestly, even though, like I said, the public perception is what it is, but I think that's plausible that Doc was surprised. Now, he may have still wanted the job too, but it's plausible that, hey, wow, really?
That's fair take.
30-13, you're firing him?
Go ahead, Wildes.
Oh, no, I'm going to end it.
Okay.
Because I was a big believer in the Bucks, and I have stopped believing in the Bucks. And oftentimes people ask me why.
Okay, so that's perfect. So then I'll set you up for it. Because you said something yesterday, Wildes, that after you said it, I'm like, oh, he's right. That part of the reason I am now considering buying more Bucks stock is they remind me a bit of the Chiefs. Not on the pedigree and that stuff, but a team that has unquestioned champion as its best player, has another piece that we all know is super valuable, playoff closer, and everyone is like, nope, they're not going to be able to get it done. And it just felt like the stock's too low. But Doc is not helping himself, and I don't understand why Doc keeps doing all these interviews. I don't understand. Doc, for someone...
I think he's trying to talk. He's thinking... he can win the room back, I guess. Honestly, that's what I think.
He's too media savvy, in my opinion, to not realize that a lot of what he is saying sounds like excuse making and like pre-excuse making, which is what makes it so odd. But go ahead.
So remember when I brought the deer in? That's how much I believed in the Bucks. And now I kind of fully believe in Denver and not really believe in the Bucks. And people were asking me why. And I just wrote down, everything has been weird. So I'll just run through all these weird things and tell me if you agree at the end of this list. Like, wow, things have been weird and weirder than other teams. Giannis's press conference after they lose, when there's actually no such thing as losing, it's just steps. Okay, kind of weird. You fired your coach fine. You hire Adrian Griffin, that's fine. Then Giannis flirts with leaving so you get to sign Dame. Weird to flirt with leaving, but hey, is what it is. You sign Dame, you lose Drew. Okay, you kind of broke up the championship core, is what it is. Terry Stotts quits.
Yeah.
Weird. You have a meltdown over the game ball. Yeah. Maybe you're totally locked in. Just weird. You fire Adrian Griffin, who was, 30 and 13? A little bit weird. Doc's on a weird media tour, and then Dame leaves Giannis off his top 5, puts Bam in when he said he wanted to go to the Heat all offseason. Yeah. I'm just saying, a lot of weirdness. I'm TV's bad boy. I'm also the vibes
Nick,
doctor.
Before you go
Weird.
that Chiefs route and pick the Bucks, the Chiefs played defense.
Well, yeah, no,
it's gotten a little better.
That's a good point. If you really wanted to be TV's bad boy, you would have punctuated that, and that's why the Bucks are out in round 1. You would have done something, gone after it.
Don't tell the bad boy how to act.
Okay, so
I don't listen to anybody.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.